You race against yourself just to buy his products. Even online, getting one is that hard. He basically says only those who deserve it can have it. Every single product is a style statement. Thousands of people are ready to make replicas of each one. Who am I talking about? Let's get started. He dropped out of school at 14. His family was so poor that his mother asked a grocery store for food on credit. Little Amancio saw that. And that day, his life changed. He had to earn money, no matter what, no matter the cost. He had no other choice. Nobody wants to see their mother in that situation. Today, Amancio Ortega is the owner of the world's largest fashion empire. Net worth, $148 billion. And still, nobody recognizes him. He won't even take a photo. Because fame was never his concern. His concern was money. He only wanted to be rich. And very few people understand that difference. He's a little different from the billionaires in our other videos. I hope you've been watching. This is the story of the man who quietly became one of the richest people in the world. 1936, right in the middle of the Spanish Civil War. In the Leon region, a tiny village with a population of barely 100, Dangote Arbas. This is where Amancio Ortega was born, the youngest of 4 children. Father a railway worker, mother a housemaid. The family struggled terribly to get by. 2 incomes, for children, 6 mouths to feed in total. They didn't know what savings meant. They could barely fill their stomachs. Franco's dictatorship was tearing through Spain. Poverty had knocked on every door and crept into every crack. Hope was a luxury only the wealthy could afford. Amancio's childhood passed in deprivation. He never had new clothes, never heard the word vacation, could only dream of toys. Stop the screen. This is the moment to look back at ourselves. Imagine it, just once. As the family grew, so did the pressure. They finally made a decision. They would move to a Coruña. A bigger city, maybe a better chance. But as we said, hope was only for the rich. The city got bigger. The poverty stayed the same. And one day his mother went to the market. She had no money. She turned to the cashier and asked for credit. Little Amancio was right beside her. He saw that shame. He felt that silence. He never forgot that moment. The cashier looked at his mother coldly. The people around them turned to stare. His mother could only look at the floor. She couldn't lift her head. Those looks, that silence, that shame, the things carved into a child's memory are sometimes the most powerful motivations. On the way home, he said this to his mother. "Mom, you will never have to ask for money again. I will earn it." He was 14 years old that day, but he had grown up all at once. He never went back to school. Nobody believed in him. Who takes seriously what a 14-year-old child can do? But Amancio wasn't waiting for anyone's approval. This wasn't the kind of thing that could be done with approval. He got a job at a small shirt shop in the heart of a Coruña. It was called Gala. His job? Carrying fabric, wrapping packages, cleaning. In other words, he was the errand boy, the one who ran every task and got paid the least. But Amancio wasn't just working. He was observing everything. Which fabric sold how much, which color was most preferred, when customers came back, when the store was empty. This would serve him greatly in the future. And more importantly, he noticed this. Factories produced expensively, stores piled on huge markups, and customers ended up paying far too much out of their own pockets. There was a massive gap in the middle, and you didn't need a university degree to see it. You just needed to observe. Amancio worked in that shop for years. He saved money, learned fabrics, learned to sew, learned to understand customers. And a plan began to form in his mind. And with every passing day, it became clearer and clearer. 1963. Amancio is 27 years old. He had spent 10 years managing sewing cooperatives. The time had finally come. His plan had been sitting on his back long enough. He founded his first company with 5,000 pesetas he had saved, worth just a few $100s today. He named the company by reversing the initials of his own name, not AOG, but GOA. Product: handmade women's bathrobes. Location, his own home. He needed nothing extra. No factory, no expensive equipment, none of it. He cut on the kitchen table and sewed in the living room. He started with his wife Rosalia, his brother Antonio, and his sister Josefa. A small family company, but incredibly fast. GOA grew. Orders came, customers came, money came. In 10 years, it reached 500 employees. But in 1974, everything changed. The oil crisis shook the world. His biggest German client said they couldn't take the orders and canceled all of them. Amancio had piles of finished, ready goods in his hands and didn't know what to do. The company was sliding toward bankruptcy. But here, too, it would be his power of observation that saved him. That was the moment Amancio made the historic decision. I will not be dependent on a middleman. I will sell it myself. 1975. He opened a small shop right in the heart of a Coruña. Its first name was Zorba, from a film he loved. But when a copyright issue came up, he changed the name. He dropped 2 letters. What remained? Zara. On the first day, everything he put in the window sold out. The second day, again sold out. By the third day, there was a line at the door. That evening when Amancio got home, he said this to his wife. This is going to work. Growing is a beautiful thing. But growing is also hard. Everything requires money. The late 1970s were a chaotic time for Spain. Franco had died. The transition to democracy was painful. The economy was shaky. People couldn't afford expensive clothes. But they didn't want to wear cheap, low-quality clothes either. Amancio saw exactly this point. Stylish but affordable. Fast but quality. Competing brands released a new collection every 6 months. Amancio put new products on the shelves twice a week. 12,000 new designs a year. Against the 2 collections competitors put out annually, Zara had 20. Today we call this fast fashion. But back then nobody knew this concept existed. Amancio had invented it. Every time a customer walked into the store, they saw something different. New clothes every week, a fresh window display every week. People developed the habit of going to Zara. They were going several times a week. This was a very powerful psychology. The customer came out of fear of missing out. Not next week. They thought, what am I missing if I don't go even today? As we said before, everything needed money. Growing did too. But no bank would give credit to a school dropout who had only worked in a shirt shop. Not even close. He went to one bank. No. He went to a second. No. A third. No again. School dropout, no formal education, just someone who worked in a shirt shop. The bankers didn't take him seriously. But Amancio didn't give up. He made a decision. He would not spend a single penny on advertising. Instead, he put every peseta he earned into one single thing. Opening stores on the busiest streets, on the best corners. The window display was his advertisement. The street was his media. The location was his marketing budget. The biggest companies are usually the ones that spend the most on marketing. But Amancio had broken that rule too. Every weekend, he personally went to the store. He talked to the saleswomen. He listened to the customers. Which product was asked for, which size ran out, what the customer said. He wrote it all down. These notes went to the design team in a Coruña. And 2 weeks later, products made based on those notes were on the shelves. Today we call this a data-driven business model. Amancio did it in the 1970s with paper and pen. The words computer and data storage weren't even being mentioned back then. 1985, Zara was now in every major city in Spain. Inditex Holding Company was founded. 1988, Porto, Portugal, the first store abroad. On opening day, a line formed at the door. 1989, New York. On the opening day of the Fifth Avenue store, the press was there. But Amancio wasn't. Photographers waited. Reporters waited. Amancio never came, because he was already back in a Coruña planning the next collection. 1990, Paris. He entered the fashion capital of the world. French designers laughed. A Spaniard? Fast fashion. In Paris. But the customers of those laughing designers were flocking to Zara. Because Zara was putting runway trends on shelves in 2 weeks. They needed 6 months. The fashion world experienced an earthquake. The great fashion houses were forced to play by the rules of a man they hadn't taken seriously. Those of you who have followed our videos, which person from our other episodes does this remind you of? Let's meet in the comments. Because the customer was voting, and the vote was going to Zara. Competitors' time from design to store, 6 months. Amancio's time, 2 weeks. The difference was unbelievable. 2001. Inditex went public. It was one of the largest IPOs in the history of the Spanish stock exchange. Amancio Ortega became one of the richest people in the world on paper that day. And that day, too, he didn't take a photo. In 2015, he briefly became the richest person in the world on the Forbes list. He even passed Bill Gates. Journalists tried to find him. They chased after a photo. They found an old one. The only picture taken under obligation for the company's IPO in 2001. Today, Zara has more than 2,000 stores in 96 countries. Inditex's annual revenue is $35 billion. And Amancio? He still has breakfast at the same cafeteria every morning. Same table, same time, same simplicity. There are 3 lessons from Amancio Ortega's story, and these are not ordinary motivational phrases. First, observe the customer, not the market. Amancio never commissioned market research, never hired a consulting firm, never ran a survey. He didn't even bother hiring someone to do those things. He got up himself, went to every salesperson, and had the conversations himself. But every weekend, he went to his store. He listened to his customers. Which colors sold, which ones stayed on the shelf, who came and when. That was his data. That was his survey. And this simple data was the foundation of billion-dollar decisions. Now, you two are doing a bunch of small things in your own life. You don't know which one might be worth $1 million or even $1 billion someday. Isn't that incredible? Second, a crisis is just another name for opportunity. If the German client hadn't canceled the orders, Amancio might never have opened his own store. Without that crisis, there would be no Zara. Sometimes the hardest slap life gives you pushes you right through the correct door. Third, silence can also be a strategy. Amancio Ortega has $148 billion. But he won't take photos, won't give interviews, has no social media. Because the brand speaks. And if the brand is powerful enough, the founder doesn't need to speak. Do you feel like you have to talk every day? Maybe the most powerful move is sometimes to stay silent. The child who left school at 14 built the world's largest fashion empire. That moment of shame he experienced with his mother at the grocery store took him to $148 billion. Sometimes the most painful moments in life carry the greatest motivation inside them. All you need to see it is to have felt that pain. Last week we told the story of Jensen Huang. He started washing dishes, built NVIDIA, and launched the AI revolution. If you missed it, now is the perfect time. In the next episode, the billionaire behind something you've never heard of but use every single day is coming. Are you ready? Unknown fortunes. The stories of the unseen.